you've got that old computer. First off, I guess, what is old again?
Well, old in Norm's special, principle is one computer year equals 7 human years.
Okay.
So I hear a lot of people that say, I got this digital camera, I'm starting to work with it, I've got high-speed internet, but it's still not right. It's not as fast as I think it should be. And I say, well, how old's your computer? And they go, well, it's new. I go, how old's new? Well, 3, 4 years. That's the challenge. We haven't kind of got our head around 3 years is like 45 years in human life. So you're in your prime, you're doing stuff, but if it's older than that, it probably doesn't have the things you need to run the new technology. There's been a real shift recently. So I realized we talked initially about computers, then we talked about our cameras. Now we're going to have to put it together. There's been a real shift in the last year. It's almost exponentially gotten faster and faster. So here's some things you can do. A lot of people just buy a computer and sort of leave it alone. If it was our car, it would mean we never had a tune-up on it. We just drive it till it drops and we go, what's wrong with that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So here's a couple things you can do depending on your level of bravery in the computer world, though it's really not that hard. First thing is you want to go in and find either in PC it's called your control panel. So you kind of click on the little start button and you look at the icons, and you want to find out what your system specs are. And that will tell you a lot, and that's not going to hurt anything. I'd say today, if you want to work on the internet and at high speed and work with your pictures, you should have at least 1 gigabyte of RAM. And I find almost all computers sold 3 years ago or older have 512.
Right.
That's what the
Meg.
operating, yeah. 512 megs. So that's what the operating system takes. XP and above basically uses it all just to, it's like you waking up in the morning without the coffee. That's all you can do is sort of walk around the house. But what we're asking the computer to do is, play music for us, play videos, search the internet, check out eBay. It runs really, really slow. I've gone to some people's houses where they turn on the computer and make breakfast and then come back and see if it's ready.
I did that in high school.
Yeah, yeah. So, and we kind of forget how it goes slow over time. It's not like you buy it one day and then it stops working the next. It's a gradual decline. So, go into your system file, your systems area, and see if you've got 1 gigabyte or more of RAM. And if you're doing any video or photo editing, you should have at least 2. Because you've got another very powerful program that's got to be online and thinking. And then you've got all the data that comes with these big photo files and video files. The next thing you want to check out is your hard drive. You can just find it and right-click on it, and it will give you properties. And you look at that, and you should see if you want to have more than 10% free space. 10% is skating on very thin ice, and less than that, it's because it's got to keep reading and writing even when it thinks. It's like if I asked you to add a bunch of numbers in your head, there's only so many numbers you can add till you go, I can't remember the first one. So, and if you add again video files, any entertainment, photo files, the cards now come in gigabytes. I've got a 16 gigabyte card in my video camera. So if you've got a 30 gigabyte hard drive and it's 4 years old, you're going to take an hour movie and that's it. Nothing else is going to happen. So it's a little more, it's easy to put RAM memory in. That's sort of like a spark plug change. You just open it up.
Easier than a spark plug change. You just make sure it's unplugged. You open it up, and then they're just, and you can, before you even do it, you can even search Google on how to do it, and they'll show you a great video, a very simple thing on how to do it. You unplug the computer, you open up the side of the computer, you just unplug the old one, plug in the new one, away you go. And what's great is you can't buy a bad one, or you can't buy one that doesn't work, because they're all made just to fit your computer.
Right, so if you have to know the specs. You can't go in and say, like I want some RAM memory. But once you get the right kind, and it is so cheap now. So that's a very good inexpensive fix you can do. The second one, getting a bigger hard drive, you might want to have some tech support with. It's not so hard to put the drive in, but what you want to do is transfer the information. And Windows is a little harder than PC because of the operating system, you know, the disc that came with it that has the etched holographic made by Windows, they're pretty sticky on copyright. Mm-hmm. So even just transferring over, but it's possible, and that may be one that you want to do with tech support. But you can, if you've got a tower computer, add other drives in and store your movies and photos on a second or third drive. The Apples come with 4 drive bays, so you can not have to worry about your system disk, even if it's starting to get full, and you can take all the data off your word processing.
I just recently, I upgraded my home computer several years ago to an 80 gig hard drive, which 3 years ago was huge.
Yes.
Huge. Never thought I would fill that up. I recently discovered, what was it, 2 weeks ago, that my computer was just dog slow, and I had no idea. I never checked the hard drive. I just assumed it would go forever, and I checked it. I was down to that 10% left. Yeah. And the computer was just so slow. It couldn't do anything. So what I did, and I made it even simpler, I went out and bought an external hard drive. I plugged it in, formatted it in a GIF. It did it by itself, basically. And then grabbed all of my pictures and videos, home videos, off of that old drive and just moved it right over to the external drive.
Right.
And my computer is singing again.
Yeah, it makes a tremendous difference in that you're actually buying something that you can use. It's not like insurance or a processor, because you can't upgrade even the processors. A little dicey, and you may not get the performance you wanted. I've got right now 4 1 terabyte drives in my tower computer and a 2 terabyte backup, because I work so much with pictures and audio and video.
Yeah.
So, but that is now, a terabyte drive I just saw is it was like $125.
My external one I just bought was 1 terabyte and it was $112.
Yeah. So you want to kind of revisit this, however old your computer is. There's things you can do that will really increase the performance and not get you into a new machine. The one thing we've all heard about recently is PCs come out with their new operating systems. Now, they've had Vista and they've had 7 now, and Apple's gone through a whole bunch of wildlife, from leopard to snow leopard to tiger and panther. Apple mostly has been improving the efficiency of their operating system, not redesigning it, where PC has sort of redesigned it. And most people think, well, newer, better would be good. You want to keep it balanced. So I wouldn't suggest getting the new version of Windows on your 3-year-old or older computer, because the new version is going to want 2 gigabytes of memory to run and a dual core processor. It's basically like 2 processors or more. Apple's now got 4 dual cores or 8 processors, and so the operating system's designed to work with all those processors. So if you're really going slow, it's an old computer, you can't put the RAM you want in it, and the hard drive is full, and it's just got a slow processor, because that's the foundation also, is how fast it can think. You got to do some math and decide, you know, if I spend a couple bucks here, 100 for hard drives, another 100 for my RAM memory, but I'm still operating on the same chassis, and I get high-speed internet, it's still not really going to work fast enough. So I'd say 5 years or older, if you're really going slow, you're looking at a new machine. 3 years or so, you can upgrade the hardware. I'd stay away from an operating system upgrade unless for some reason your business or company requires it, or you get a new machine and you want them to talk together. But the cost of computers has come down so much that it can be a good decision. But for under $300, you can get an external hard drive or 2 and RAM memory, and you also want to do a little cleaning up of the files that you've tested in your temp files. And
well, not only that too, that certainly you want to compress your old files and all that, but also it wouldn't hurt if you're buying all that new equipment and you're going to open up your case, if you will, your tower, to install this new equipment. Get one of those little cans of compressed air.
Yeah.
And just blast out, because there's quite a lot of dust bunnies hanging around in there too.
Yeah, and when you start fiddling with it, and that's one last thing I should finalize on. Computers will break, things end. They're very stable these days, but get a backup drive as well as just storage for your movies. You want a drive that backs up your computer and your operating system and your data. And with Apple, it's a one-press thing. You turn it on and it's called Time Machine and it backs up. PC's gotten better software, but sometimes it's confusing. It really was written by a computer geek, and you maybe call in tech support. But they've also got, some hard drives have worked around it and have, like, I think Maxter's got one press backup. But you want a backup drive and a storage drive. So that's why I'm thinking you're looking at a few $100s to make it work. But that will make all the difference in the world. Computers need to be tuned up and kept in shape the same way our cars and our bodies do.
That's Tech Life with Norm Shrewsbury, and you can visit him online, www.techlifewithnorm.com, right?
Yes, and all the information we talk about is online. These radio programs are online, and I also have a written sort of blog post that covers it also.
And information on how to get in touch with you, right?
You bet.
All right. Thank you again, Norm.
Thanks, Rich.